Hello, welcome to the program. Ahead, changes aplenty after ARN signs Kyle and Jackie O from Southern Cross Austereo. A wrap of the TV ratings year and our interviews from the launch of Foxtel's new music channels. But first, in the biggest float this year, Nine Entertainment makes its long-awaited share market debut this week. Nine's chief executive David Gyngell says their listing will help the company maintain its market position and grow its event business. Well, for all the details, our co-host James Manning, editor and publisher of Mediaweek, is here. James, can you give us an update on this? You've been speaking actually too with the Mail Online JV partners this week, so how that too can affect the Nine content.
Yeah, look, after the show I got to spend some time with Martin Clark. He's the publisher and editor-in-chief of the Mail Online, at DMG's online version of the Daily Mail, if you like, and Mark Britt, the chief executive officer of MI9. Now, when this announcement was made, there was some small print at the bottom of the release said, look, this won't materially affect the Nine Entertainment Company listing or the prospectus, but you've got to think it just puts a little bit more of a glimmer on the whole offering, you know, because it's massive worldwide, the Mail Online, and if they get it right here, you know, it could make some material difference, you'd think, to Nine's bottom line ultimately. Probably not in the short term, because there's going to be a few start-up costs, but they've really hit the ground running. You know, during our interview, Martin Clark said, look, and you remember we spoke to him not long ago at the conference, and we said to him, and I mentioned this last week too on the show, that we said to him, you're very interested in Australia, and he was sort of downplayed it a little bit, didn't he? And he said, look, yeah, look, I admit I was downplaying it because that wasn't real high on their agenda to start. They were really more interested in monetising that existing Australian audience, which he told us back then was quite significant. But he said, look, he was pleasantly surprised by the response of potential partners in Australia. So they moved quickly. MI9 and 9MSN looked like a great fit, and they really signed a deal and moved quickly. And he said, look, we want journalists on the ground probably by January, filing copy, and we're already midway through December nearly, and they've already appointed their first hiring is Luke McElveen is going to be edit the Mail Online. He's been running news.com.au, so you don't get better pedigree than that.
All right, and in terms of the IPO there, you mentioned that it puts a glimmer, an extra glimmer perhaps on that. It is a huge event, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Friday, 12 noon, that lists. Liz Hayes will be ringing the ASX bell. David Gyngell, as usual, doesn't want the spotlight. He's happy to put up, you know, someone, a Nine veteran, if you like. You know, she's been there a long time. Today's show, 60 Minutes now, so it's great to see someone who's been there, you know, doing the hard yards for the channel, getting a bit of the limelight.
Does it change things in the media space? How significant is this going to be?
Well, it's just great, I guess, because it's, you know, a public company. You really get to look through the books, don't you? You know, see how it's. So for us, it's great being able to delve into how it all works. A lot of commentary about the share price, 205 it'll come on at. Some people are saying at the bottom end. Well, it's at the bottom end of that original sort of forecast. I think a lot of the numbers were probably based around their most similar comparison in the sector, which is Seven West Media, if you like. Well, there's a little bit of difference. They have the magazines now. Nine doesn't have that Bauer link anymore after selling that off. But the Seven share price has probably drifted down a little bit in the weeks since that initial costing was done. So it's still ballpark. It's probably not a bad price.
It'll be very interesting. All right, let's just turn to some other news. And of course, the big moves in radio we've been seeing following ARN's poaching of Breakfast FM stars Kyle and Jackie O from Southern Cross Austereo. James, yeah, this was huge news, wasn't it? And there's been a host of changes now. And you've actually been speaking to the CEO of ARN about how they managed to get Kyle and Jackie O.
Yeah, well, it was great to get some insights into how it all happened. Look, they didn't know, he says, and no reason to doubt him. Kieran Davis, who's been on the show a couple of times too, he said, look, they didn't know until Kyle said one morning on the program that talks have broken down with Southern Cross Austereo and will be leaving. So they hit the phones and started seeing if they could come up with a deal. They could. They'll be on air January 20. Still no revelation of what that name will be. He talked a lot about how Kiss FM, you know, is a very popular brand name around the world for radio stations, particularly in a certain format. So he doesn't want to reveal that. He doesn't want to reveal the music format yet because I guess he doesn't want to give his competitors a free kick. But you sort of think we know where it'll be. If it's Kyle and Jackie O, it's not going to be too dissimilar to what Today FM's been doing in the past, although they'll probably claim it will be better. They will be working out at the North Ryde media hub. So there's a lot of media companies in that part of the world. Sky News, of course, Foxtel, the BBC, Universal Magazine. So it is a sort of a media suburb, if you like. So they'll be travelling out there every day.
And obviously changes going on too at Southern Cross Stereo in light of all of this. And a really long-standing executive actually announcing he's leaving this week.
Yeah, Rod Bryce stepping down. He's part of, has been part of, I guess, if you like, Rhys Holleran's inner circle in the past. RG Capital Radio, worked there with Rhys. Really an expert on regional radio, very crucial linchpin part of the business there. He's leaving after a long time in radio. And look, there's rumours of other people. I don't want to, you know, tell people they might have a job here on air, but I think there will be some other announcements, and a lot of these people probably know that they're really looking at the books, I think, going into the new year and really deciding. They've also been cutting, you know, part of the reason they've lost Cole Sandilands is because, look, they just weren't prepared to keep paying some of these salaries that big name talent was on. And it's just a new era in media, isn't it? We hear a lot about it on the show. You know, somebody told me this week, look, people are getting hit with a reality stick, you know. You've really just got to look at your bottom line and your costings.
Yep. Just also, though, of course, another bit of news as well. One of the DJs who's involved in that raw prank scandal as well has settled and is going to leave Southern Cross Stereo.
Yeah, yep, she's going. A statement from the company said, look, you know, they decided to put that broadcast to air. It wasn't the DJs that made that final decision, so Mel Gregg would be happy to have that statement out there before she leaves. Michael Christian was the other guy, MC. A lot of people don't know he's actually on air at the moment on a syndicated breakfast show right around the Today Network, so he's certainly staying with the company.
Okay. Ian Skippen, there's obviously been a host of changes at 4BC in Brisbane. Ian Skippen and getting the job that Jamie Dunn used to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Loretta Ryan's going to be his co-host at 4BC Breakfast, but yeah, it's a great get for Ian. Ian Skippen came on, I think it was in August this year. He just came in as a temporary posting on that breakfast show while they try and sorted out a co-host for the existing host. I think it was Mary Ryan, I think it was. She's since left the station. Ian's managed to convince them, look, I'm probably a long-term bet. Well, they have tried before with an FM host, Jamie Dunn. Didn't really work out, so maybe, you know, Ian's got a different spin on it as to how it might work for them in the future. And one more thing on that Fairfax Radio, yet to hear what they're doing in Sydney. Still some announcements to come, but in Perth, they've Basil Zemplis has got the job co-hosting breakfast there. He's a big Seven sports host in that market, and he's moved over from FM radio, and he's returning, I guess, to 6PR.
Just one ongoing row that we're just continuing on from, the battle and the war of words between Astra and Free TV, and Harold Mitchell's been saying some more things this week, and Astra too. Yeah, look, Astra said, look, they've been talking about the subsidies that they claim the free-to-air broadcasters get. Costs taxpayers up to $6 billion, they calculated. Look, Free TV was a bit outraged by this, and Harold said, nah, look, Astra's a fail. They're rehashing some old stats. Australian free-to-air broadcasters already were paying the highest fees in the world, so look, that's not really a fair stat. So yeah, it's an interesting spat between those two parties. Yeah, absolutely. All right, James, we'll come back to you in a moment. Let's just get a check now on the media sector's performance on the share market this week. We're joined by Evan Lucas from IG. Evan, just firstly, the Nine listing, what does it mean for the media sector here on the share market in Australia?
Yeah, it obviously now means that we've got all three free-to-air TV programs listed on the stock exchange. As James alluded to, it's certainly going to be compared very, very heavily towards Seven West Media. I think the difference probably is the digital assets, and obviously Seven's got legacy issues with their newspaper side, whereas Nine has got the digital side. That may be a slight difference, but all in all, looks very, very similar, trading on same metrics. Tomorrow's listing will be interesting at $2.05. It'll probably have a good start, but all in all, they still have to compete for $2.6 billion in advertisement dollars, and we know how hard that has been over the last couple of years, and we continue to hear it from Seven and also from 10, and Nine is now just going to be joining in and telling us exactly what we already know.
Just in terms of that other news in the radio sector as well, APN's ARN snaring the Breakfast FM stars Kyle and Jackie O off Southern Cross Stereo. Much reaction in the share market to that news?
Not a huge amount of reaction to it. They have popped up over the last 2 days, but this was obviously came out 6 or 7 days ago from when we're talking about it now. I think what you've got to look at it is actually whether or not it drives clientele towards ARN, and with that, what happens with APN. APN obviously have still got a big debt issue, and that may be the reason the market hasn't reacted, but it could be a positive thing, and it'll be interesting to see their first half numbers if the Kyle and Jackie O program has actually pulled advertisement dollars and also listing numbers over with them, and that will be a positive for ARN. All
right, great to get your thoughts as always, Evan. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Brady.
Evan Lucas there from IG. Coming up on Media Week, Foxtel launches its new music channels.